All they had to do, all the Patriots had to do was just keep doing what they've been doing. All you've got to do is lose one more time. And I gotta say, Zach, like it doesn't even hit me until like in the fourth quarter, probably like 10 minutes left, where they have a lead. It eventually gets stretched to a 7-point lead. And I'm like, oh my God, they're really going to blow this. They're actually going to go out and win this game. Like, it's all my worst fears coming true. Because it felt like a fever dream because it's like a preseason game. Josh Allen goes out there for one snap to keep a starting streak going, which, whatever. I like Josh Allen. I think that's kind of
A little bit cop out.
it's just kind of a weird thing to do. But anyway, whatever. He does it. And Drake May gets pulled after one series. And so it's twos against twos. Joe Milton, Bazooka Joe, who has not taken a snap in the regular season all year, has never taken a regular season NFL snap, becomes friggin' Tom Brady, man, Lamar Jackson. When all the team needs to do is lose, he's going out there. He's scrambling in the pocket. He's making plays on the ground. He's finding receivers past the defense, past the secondary, and throwing touchdowns. And it's like, oh my God, they're really gonna blow this. It gets to a point where I am on my knees in said living room, begging Mike White to lead a touchdown drive. Like, please, for the love of God, score a touchdown and get the 2-point conversion. But then it became abundantly clear to me that not only did the Patriots want to fuck this up, but the Buffalo Bills wanted nothing more than for the Patriots to fuck this up. There's a play late on in the fourth quarter. It's when the Patriots take a 7-point lead because it's 3rd and 10 or whatever. Joe Milton running around the pocket, buying all kinds of time, chucks one down the field, touchdown. Except for the fact that there's clearly a holding penalty. We knew basically the whole play that it was coming back. And instead of accepting it, Buffalo confirms with replay assist that it was actually an incomplete pass. They decline the penalty, so it's 4th down and an easier field goal for Joey Sly to hit and go up 7 points. Buffalo didn't want to win that game either, brother. Man. Buffalo wanted this thing to happen because why wouldn't you? Like, genuinely, why wouldn't you? They're locked in. Who cares? Make it tougher for your divisional opponent to rebuild their franchise? Shit, yeah. Why not? It's so cruel, man.
Let me be a little bit of a silver lining for you, potentially.
Please, try.
I'm trying. I know it's not going to work, but I'm just going to at least.
I'm still on watch. Yeah.
At least give you another scenario of where this could work out, or at least it has in the short term. I say that as this team's going to limp out of the playoffs, or just the Texans are going to be sent home very, very early. But I would like to take you back to 2022.
And okay, I did hear the broadcasters try to talk
and a Lovie Smith coach Texans team, where they close out with the win over the Indianapolis Colts. Improving Lovey's record to 3-13 on the year and giving the first overall pick, or they had the first overall pick in that draft to the Chicago Bears, who they end up trading to the Carolina Panthers. I would argue that stopped the Texans from making the decision of going with Bryce Young, that up until this point has seemed to pay off for them more. Granted, Young looked, I would say, decent there to close out the season for Carolina.
Second most embarrassed team yesterday, by the way, the Atlanta Falcons.
Yes.
With a playoff spot on the line, giving up 44 to the Panthers and losing. Yeah.
But maybe, like, who? Well, Travis, you're going to try to take Hunter first, potentially with a.
If you have the number 1 pick, you just trade it.
So okay.
You get a top 5, top 8 pick this year and a top 10 pick next year.
But
that's not even your own.
Fair enough. So they aren't able to have the collateral
options, brother. They weren't picking at 1. They were never going to make a selection at 1.
So then they could still get whoever they want. Like, they have enough holes on this team that there's going to be somebody there at 4, or you could still potentially trade back a little bit later in the first round. You're not going to get another top 10 for the next year, but you could turn this into multiple, like, first round picks still.
The thing, I mean, the only thing that I would buy that into the number 4 pick becoming multiple picks is if Travis Hunter is available at 4, which I don't think he will be. I think there's going to be 3 quarterback hungry teams ahead of you, and
with 2 QBs
and 2 quarterbacks, because no one's picking Jalen Milroe or Jackson Dart with the 3rd pick in the draft. They're just not going to do it. So they're going to say, well, we can trade back, or screw it, best player available, Travis Hunter. Gives you 1.5 positions maybe. And I think that's the way the Patriots would look at it. And now there's mocks up of them at 4, which is the worst part of all of this. They're not 2, they're 4.
That's a terrible
okay, and not a good draft, not a great draft. I think we've all agreed on that. It was not last year. You had 3 quarterbacks at the top of the draft that were going to be starting within a year and were going to be impact quarterbacks, right? I think they all graded out to be good NFL quarterbacks. And you had a future all-pro wide receiver in there in the top 4. This year is not that. You're taking reaches at 2 quarterbacks, and then probably Travis Hunter is the best player in the draft. It's not a great tackle draft, which is what the Patriots probably need the most. But again, they need an upgrade literally everywhere. And Ted McMillan is a good receiver, but not nearly the hype of a Marvin Harrison Jr. from 2024. So this is, again, a disaster to me that they dropped from 1 to 4. A disaster. Like you just need to do one thing. You've been doing it all season long. You've been doing it all of the last 2 seasons. Just lose, baby. And you can't even do that right. This franchise is a fucking mess, an absolute mess. And if they had held on to Jerod Mayo one more day, they would have lost fans. I'm telling you. But Jerod Mayo, albeit a problem, is not the only problem. Is far from the only problem in this organization. And I've heard plenty of people that didn't watch this team every week saying, how can you let the guy go after 1 year? You give him 1 year, look how bad this roster is. I agree. The roster's awful. It's probably the worst in football. But they didn't improve at any point in the season. Their best game was week 1. And then 17 weeks of crap. You had the most important position in football figured out by mid to late October, and you still got no better. That's where the problem is. That's where the problem is. There's also a major problem with the roster and with ownership. I think it ultimately comes down to ownership's decision of, hey, we have a plan in place. We have a direction for this franchise. This is our guy. They said that like 50 weeks ago. And now all of a sudden, he's not the guy. Which would lead any smart nose breather to believe that he was not the right guy to begin with. And this is not a hindsight is 2020 now after they're 3-4 or 4-13, because they had to win one. They're 4-13. It's not hindsight being 2020. I think most people could have told you at when Jerod Mayo got hired last year of, oh, this is a real reach. It's a guy who's never even been a coordinator before, and he's coached and played under one guy. The guy you just ran out of town because you thought he lost his fastball. They're just going to bring in a Belichick disciple, and you're gonna force arranged marriages with him, with his assistant coaches, because he doesn't know anybody. And so you bring in Alex Van Pelt, who at the time that we're live on YouTube at 12:20 Eastern time on Monday, Alex Van Pelt is still the offensive coordinator of the New England Patriots, despite Ben Volin's report. Wow, Volin got one wrong. Who could have thunk it? He's still there. I doubt he's still there next year. And we'll talk about who's going to be coming in. But I imagine whomever is coming in as the head coach for the Patriots next year is bringing an OC with them. Because, again, this is an attractive job in some ways. In a lot of ways, it's a dumpster fire. But when you look at the openings, New England and Chicago are going to be the most attractive because they have the quarterback. And I think a lot of people around the league would tell you that Drake May was in a way more impressive than Caleb Williams in year one, but they both have the franchise quarterback. And so, therefore, the Patriots could not afford to wait around. They couldn't. And I got to tell you, what's most frustrating about all of this is the fact that they needed to just lose that game yesterday, and they couldn't bring themselves to do it. And Jerod Mayo is fired an hour after the game, and the statement from the Kraft family is like 6 paragraphs long. That was not written right after the game. Okay, that was written last week. They had this guy fired last week, probably right after the Chargers game. And what they should have done was fired him after the Chargers game. Make Dante Hightower the head coach for 1 week. Say, Dante, just do what you got to do. We don't really want you to win this game. In fact, the future of our franchise has a much nicer outlook if you don't win this game. How about you take one for the team? Be a good soldier for us. Go out there and lose this game. And look, the Patriots played a third-string quarterback. They played a lot of twos out there. But you just can't win that game. You can't. I'm sorry. I know you play to win the game, results-based business. This is a worse result to win the game. In fact, yesterday was probably the most embarrassed I've ever been to be a Patriots fan, ever. And they won the game because that was the worst-case scenario. It's been my nightmare thinking about this Buffalo game on the schedule, Week 18. My worst nightmare for weeks now was that they would be resting their starters and that you would fuck around and win that game. And your worst nightmares come true. You had a chance to completely turn around this franchise in relatively short order because they're not going to be a good team next year. But with the number 1 pick and the capital that you would have gotten the guy that you wanted plus extra top 10 draft picks. Assuming the Raiders or the Giants or the Titans are not going to be a team that's making the postseason next year or picking outside of the top 10, because I really doubt they will be. But instead, you fucked that up. It's just an awful, awful day for an organization that has been in free fall the last 2 years. When you have your team in victory formation and your fans are booing. And the Bills fans who overtook that stadium at Gillette are cheering if their team is losing because they know that hurts us even more. They know what that means to the Patriots and the Patriots fan base. It's this team, they kick you in the balls for 17 weeks. And then leading up to this game, telling you, the fans, to know your place, just spitting in your face as a fan base, just to kick you in the balls again. Oh, you wanted us to win for our other 16 games and we couldn't do that for you. Now you want us to lose? Guess what? Fuck you. We're going to go out there and win. That's what they did. They flipped off the entire Patriots fan base yesterday. Fuck you guys. And they went out there and won a football game and then fired the coach. I think Elliott Wolf is on borrowed time, but we see this a lot where a team's going to stick with their GM through the draft. I think on the surface it really sucks, and I think it's really counterintuitive. But this is the GM and the personnel department that has been scouting this draft since September when they knew they were going to be picking in the top 5. And now it gets totally blown up in their faces. Now you got to pick 4. And who do you go with? Travis Hunter probably not even going to be there. You're going to pick the corner out of Michigan, the next best corner, who's probably the next best player prospect on the board. Do you try and take the risk at drafting receiver 4th overall in a position that you've never drafted well, ever? You going to try that? Or are you going to take a reach on offensive tackle, which might not be picked until 7 or 8? What the hell does this team do? As bad as it was all year, you have a worse draft pick than you had last year. It's just unfathomable how much they fucked this up.
We are Rogue Media Sports.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. And if you like this video, be sure to give us a like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel a ton. You can follow me on Twitter here for some more outrageous Boston sports takes coming to you every weekday at noon Eastern time. And then after that, wherever you get your podcasts.
We are Rogue Media Sports.